the first step will be to cut what size you want your workplace to be. So this one I had done about 4.5 and I made it a square. Oh, not quite a square, rectangle. 4.5 by 5, but you can change it to whatever size card you're looking for. And then, so with your straight edge, you'll just kind of mark out what size you want it to be. And I think I'll probably go about the same size again. And maybe I'll do a square this time. Oh, it's a little smaller. And then I can cut out my rectangle. This will be eventually glued to the other cardstock you have in your kit. So we'll put both of those off to the side, the piece we're not using, and that. Now I have made this chart ahead of time to kind of show some of the shapes that you can use. All of these I made with my hands and the quilling tool. You can get really into quilling and buy all kinds of forms and shapes to make even more shapes than these. There's like combs that you can use, but we're just going to do basic stuff today so that we can learn how to do just some basic stuff. First off, with this quilling tool, let's see, I'm gonna change my autofocus so that you can kind of see the tip of this. There we go, it focused. So you can see there's a little slot in there, and that slot is what we'll use to hold the piece of paper and turn it. There are also ones for quilling that don't have that slot, and that's a little more difficult to get it to stay in place. So we went with the slotted tools just to get us started for our beginning quilling. So you can stick your paper into that slot and you can just turn it so that the paper goes around it, and you just keep turning till you get to the end of your paper. And that's how you get your spirals, and then you've got that tight shape. And then you would be able to put that onto your paper of your snowflake. If you want to do something looser like that or that, you just kind of let go of it and let it spin out some. And then you can either add glue to it here and close it off. You get more of these shapes. The tight one was actually this one. And then if you want to leave it coiled out like that, you just add glue to it on the top here and then glue it down. And you might even need to shape which direction you want that to go. Then to get different shapes, all you have to do is use your hands and press it into those shapes. You might add glue here. So I'm actually gonna show a teardrop and add glue just as a sample. So I'm gonna add some glue right there to the end. This one's a really loose one I've got here. And then to make like the teardrop, I'm just gonna pinch it here at the top. Make sure my paper stays glued. And there I've got a teardrop shape that I could then glue to my project that I'm working on. And then it would just be the same idea for all these other shapes. So this one I just took and I pinched it on both sides. This one I took and I pinched it so that it was like this to make a heart. This one I pinched 3 times, as did I with that one. It's just a matter of how tight you pinch it for the 2 different triangles there. And that one I just pinched 4 times. And then this one I kind of did a shape when pinching it. So you can get a lot of different shapes just by where you press on it. You can choose with your project if you want to do any more shapes. You can individualize your project as you're working on it. And then also you can do straight lines. So with my sample piece here, I put in straight lines here. Actually kind of supported some of these by putting those teardrops in. You can add anything out of the shapes you see there, or even if you get creative and create your own shapes, that is fine. So we'll get started on working on our snowflake. And here I took and I kind of just marked out where I wanted my lines of the snowflake to be. So that's about half, so I'm just going to mark there. I'm going to make a line perpendicular to it, so right through the middle, 90 degrees. And then from there, I'm going to do one right in the middle of that, just like you would see a snowflake, so that I have 8 sides. Some of mine are a little longer than others, so I actually have an eraser on my pencil, so I'm going to kind of shore that up. So we have a base shape of what we're going to work with. So now at this point, you can decide if you're going to put something in the middle, like a round spot there, or if you're just going to start putting in lines. You could just do a line that goes through here. I'm going to do a circle in the middle. So I'm going to take my paper, put it into that slot on the quilling tool. Oh, I missed. And I'm just gonna rotate my tool, picking up the paper as I go, and just keep rotating. And this one, I think I want to do one of the tight coils for the center. What size is the white paper? You can make it whatever size you want. I did 4.5 by like 4, mainly because I didn't measure correctly. And then because I'm doing the tight, I'm just gonna hold on to it. Put a little glue on there. And hold it just for a couple seconds to let that glue kind of attach. Hard for you to see, but I just press on it and then it holds it in place. Now I can, from here, decide if I like that size or if I want to add another round to it. So with some of these that I did here, I didn't go with the small size. So like the center here, I did like 3 pieces of paper wrapped around. So to add another layer, you would just add a little bit of glue onto this we've already glued. Take another piece of paper and stick that on. And then we'll just keep rolling it at this point. And I can actually slide my tool back in there to help me do it. There we go. I pressed it back in because my spiral was starting to kind of stick out in the center. And then to finish it, I'm just going to stick glue on the end again. Hold it in place for a little bit. Make sure it has a good hold. And then we've got our round piece. And then when you're ready for it to go onto your paper, you just put some glue on there and stick it in place. From here, I might decide on what kind of things I want to add. So I know that I'm gonna do some branching out here, but what do I want to put beside it? And I might go with the teardrops again at that point. That is up to you what you want to do. Actually, I think I'm gonna get a little braver and do a different shape. And it's more of a marquee shape here. So I'll just take that paper in again and roll it just like before. And this time, before gluing it down, I'm going to actually let it go so that it's a loose spiral, and take and squish both sides like that. And now I'll glue it in place. There's my key. And I think that might make nice ends like that. So I'm not actually going to glue it down yet because I'm kind of thinking about what I want to do. You can just use a piece of paper. You can cut it to the size you need. So here it looks like I'm going to do something that just goes straight out here. And the size I need is to about there. So I'm just going to cut it and then glue it on. And then just kind of stick it down there. It might try to flap over a little bit. That's why I kind of use those teardrops to hold it up better last time. Oh, it's actually staying in place, which is nice. You can also take the toothpicks that are in your kit, and those can help you kind of just nudge things into place if it's not staying. The loose one, you'll just put it into that slotted tool again. You'll do it just like the tight one that we did and the marquee. We'll wrap it around. And then we'll pull it off the tool, and then you just let go of it so that it spirals out. And then you can glue it if you like what it's at. If you want to tighten it a little, you can just pull on the end and then wrap it and then glue it at what point you like it. So there's a looser one. So I'm gonna put that here. And I'm not gluing in place yet because I'm still kind of getting an idea of what I'm doing for my project. And then a teardrop is done the same way again, but then it just has a difference of where you pinch on it. Roll that up. Let's do that over the orange paper. You can see it better. And once again, I'm going to let go to let it have some space in the coil. I'm not going to glue it yet. I'm going to pinch it here on the end where I am going to glue it though. And that makes a teardrop. And at that point, I can add glue. I'm going to use that teardrop on this project to hold up that straight piece of paper. Now the next shape on here is the marquee. We did that. And then the next one is the heart shape. So to do a heart shape, we'll start it just like all the other ones. wrap it around. We'll let it be looser. And then you just take and you kind of push in to make more of a heart shape. So I'm going to just kind of push those together to make those rounded. And pinch on the bottom to make that more pointed. So there's a heart. And then we glue once again. So those might make a nice end point too, like that. So I'm actually gonna put glue on this one because I wanna put that one there, I know. So I rolled another one and got it to the loose point. And to make a triangle, I just do one pinch there and then two on the bottom. And that makes the triangle. The triangle is almost like the heart, just not with the rounded ends. And if you wanted to take your triangle and make it more like a shark fin, you would just pinch one of them a lot more than the rest. And then you glue it again like the other ones. And to make this 4-point kind of star down here, we just prep it in the same way. And then I'm gonna pinch on both sides and then pinch on the other side and then glue it. And each one you make is kind of going to be a little different because of where the coils are in it. And then I'm going to glue it in place. And there's my 4-point star. To do the first S scroll, I'm going to take and roll, but only roll half of the paper.
Okay.
So this is about half the side. And then I'm just going to hold what I got rolled here. And to make it the reverse S, you're going to take and roll the opposite direction on this side. Actually, I'm going to let go of that. It kind of holds its shape pretty well. And then you just roll up this side of it. And I think I have it going the wrong direction. I may have made the C scroll. Yeah, because I didn't go backwards. And this one is a little tight on this side, so I can kind of just encourage it along. Unroll it by hand if it doesn't want to go. And just the difference between the C scroll here and the heart is you just take and pinch this bottom to make the heart.
Thank you.
I can do an S scroll correctly. So I'm going to roll this way, halfway, let go. And then I've flipped it, so I'm going to roll towards this again because it's going the opposite direction of the other one. And I roll up till the end of that. And then I let go and I can just glue it down at that point. Or if I want to, I can tighten it or loosen it depending on what I'm trying to achieve.
Okay, thank you.
And with your snowflakes, you'll want to make sure that you're being symmetric because snowflakes are symmetrical. So since I glued that teardrop down, I'm gonna make another teardrop. Let it get loose. Pinch it on the end. And there we go. And glue it, and then glue it down to the board. And you might notice that like these ones are a lot bigger than the ones I did here. These I just didn't let them get as loose as these ones. So I can show a smaller one. So I'm going to make the small raindrop this time. I'm not going to let it get as loose, but I'm going to let it loosen up a little bit. And then pinch it at that end and glue it to hold it in place. So there it is, much smaller than the other one. And you can do that with the other shapes too. It'll just end up making them a little smaller than the other one. So I might want to save those for like these ones. And when I go and do these 4 here, or the 3 other ones, I would want to repeat what I did there for my snowflake. And then these 4, I can kind of do a different pattern for. Show this shape that I made here. I can show how that was done. So it's basically a marquee that's bent. Just rolling like before. Let it get some volume. Pinch the 2 ends to make it a marquee, and then push it in to bend it. And it makes a little kind of zigzag shape, or like a bird. And here is a spiral. I didn't really think that one would get used that much with snowflakes, but that is also an option. You just kind of roll up your piece like any other time, but then you let it very loose, and then also you just kind of pull it outwards. And glue it in place. That one would be good for like if you're doing a birthday card and you want to do kind of like confetti or streamers, or New Year's card. Library has some quilling books in-house, and then you can also request them from other libraries. There are also digital copies available through the Ohio Digital Library and Hoopla. If you do want to look into doing more quilling projects, you can get some nice ideas from there. I actually pulled this idea from our quilled Christmas book that we have. So I found this to be actually kind of the hardest part, but it's actually easy in theory. I tried to include quite a few gems there for you, so you have the opportunity to put a lot of them on there. So you just decide which ones you want to put gems on. On this one, I kind of just did like those outside ones and then these inside ones here in the center. And you'll just use your glue that you have been using. Put it onto the quilled pieces, just that center. And then you can take one of your gems and stick it on. And that's the hard part, is trying to get that lined up. And you might find the toothpicks are helpful for this, or tweezers. And it's okay if you get a little glue on there. It might not be as shiny as it once was, but it might peel off later too. So like on this one, I probably want to do these tight spirals that I did. And then maybe the marquees on this one. Actually, I think the gems were the part that fell off when I tried to make it a card before letting it completely dry. So I've got all my pieces in place, and I just need to do the gems at this point. One thing I found kind of helps out with the gems is to like have it facing so that it's the shiny side up, and then like press your finger onto it, and your finger kind of holds onto it until you're ready to drop it on the glue. And it wants to stay on the glue because that's sticky. Yeah, and you could technically do quilling without any of the tools. Like I was rolling paper just by hand as an option. You might not get it as tight, but you can just roll it by hand too. You could take a piece of wire. You could use a toothpick. So it is a very accessible craft. So there I've got a roll that I just did by hand. I'm just taking a toothpick. Using my fingers to kind of tension it so it doesn't fall off. You get almost the exact same thing you would have with the slotting tool, just the hole's a little bigger in the middle. And it took a little bit more work to get it to go at the beginning. The wire tool that's just a point is basically that same concept. It just gets you a really tiny hole in the middle. Get the card part shown to you. So when it does dry, or if you want to take your chances and then just glue on anything later, you can glue it on so that you've got a little bit of an edge, as much as you want. If you want to just do a tiny edge, you can do tiny edge, or if you want to do like maybe a 1/4 of an inch or even a 1/2 inch. I'm gonna try gluing it just to test this out. And this is kind of why I lost pieces, is I turn it over. And then I just added glue to the back. If you're worried about it wrinkling it, you could decide to use like double-sided tape or something like that. And then I'm just gonna place it on there, press down so it gets a good adhesion. I didn't lose any pieces, so we're good. And then I'm gonna take my pencil again and mark where it looks good to cut. It's gonna cut along that line. You'll get a straighter edge if you've got a paper cutter. And then I'm just kind of still pressing it down to make sure it stays. At this point, I fold it. I would actually let it dry usually after this point too. I'm gonna fold it this way so I don't mess it up. And then you just cut along that edge to clear it up with that extra paper. I actually didn't get it too straight. So I can actually straighten it by just trimming all my edges. Or if you do want to try to send it through the mail, you would have to take it to the post office and get it hand stamped because it won't fit through their sorting machines.